Every day we make choices that shape our lives: what to eat, what to wear, and how we spend our time. But there's one choice that can truly make a difference in our community and our country. It's the choice to vote. Your voice matters. Your vote matters. And it's never been easier to make sure your voice is heard.
At Vote.Gov, you can register to vote in just a few easy steps. Whether you're a first-time voter or updating your registration, it's quick, secure, and straightforward. When you register to vote, you're taking an active role in our democracy. You're standing up for your beliefs and ensuring your opinions are counted.
And it's not just about national elections. It's about having a say in the decisions that affect our local communities, our future, and our country.
That's right. If you're not registered, take a moment today to visit Vote.Gov. It's simple, it's important, and it's your chance to make a difference.
Register to vote today at Vote.Gov, and let's show up and participate in this year's election. Your voice, your power, your future. Let's make it count.
Visit Vote.Gov now. It's time to take action. What's up, everybody? You've tuned in to Just Draws, the podcast that explores hot topics and various experiences among same-gender loving Black men. In each episode, we offer raw, vulnerable, and stripped-down perspectives to give voice to our frequently overlooked population. Here, we don't just scratch the surface, we dive deep, peeling back the layers of our experiences as well as heteronormative stereotypes. Let's get into this week's episode.
All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Just Draws podcast. I'm Jeff.
I'm Darius, aka DMC.
All right. And this episode, we're coming from Shannon Sharp's man cave.
No comment.
No comment. All right. So this episode is going to be a little bit different. We're kind of on a content hiatus right now, but we did want to provide some content all the same. That being said, we're going to go back into the vault and pick out some notes and clips from our previous episodes, and just kind of have a little bit of a retrospective comment, if you want to say like a director's cut of some of these episodes, like a flashback episodes, like they used to do in the 80s. Not on cartoons, on the sitcoms, where they just be like, "Oh, it's a filler episode."
Yeah,
so,
this is filler. This is filler. Yeah,
it's filler.
That's right.
But it's good content. All right, and
since we're in Shannon Sharp's man cave, then it's definitely something's getting filled. Definitely.
Oh, yeah. Maybe not as enthusiastically as one person in that room, but something's getting filled. Mm-hmm. All right. So I've got a couple of clips. Darius has a couple of clips, and we'll just kind of go from there. All right. So one that I have is about coming out and being a man of a certain age, and how. And this episode is coming from our very first episode, episode 1, season 1, episode 1, and. Back in our ghetto heydays, or ghetto days, not even heydays, because it was a little rough going back then, but we didn't know what we were doing. Mm-hmm. We're a little bit better with things now. So I'm just going to cue that clip up, and then we'll come back and I'll talk about it. Say, or have said for a minute, once you're a man of a certain age and you don't have any kids, people already start trying to calculate, and the gears start turning and things like that. So I've worked at corporations where it would have been okay for me to be an out employee. I decided not to add that as something about my business because I just felt like it really wasn't going to make any difference as far as me doing my job. And I was okay with that. And that you could say discreet at work, quote unquote. Now, my last job, I decided, from the get-go, I have no problem with letting people know that what side my bread is buttered on, and it didn't bother me. And I worked for a very open, friendly to the alphabet community company, and everything was fine. My boss was a member of the community. It was fine. I now work at a major global corporation where diversity is drilled into us all the time. And I have not officially made any type of statement or anything like that about, me being gay or whatever. But I'm okay with it. It just hasn't been like a big deal with me at this current company that I'm at. So
yeah,
and I think too, going back to what you were saying about representation, I think too, because we still have people that can have all of those things in place, can have success, can have their masculinity at whatever level they feel is there's super masculine and unclockable, quote unquote, and still just won't come out just because of other reasons. Like I said, that those blocks, as I mentioned before, could be. It could be a religion thing. I don't want to do this. It could be I don't want to mess up a future opportunity for my financials. I don't want to cut off this person potentially out of my life. And those are things that I had to process myself when I officially came out when I turned 40. I wanted to share that clip because we came back to that in our coming out episodes with me and Brandon, where I kind of elaborated more on what my process was on coming out. And I was just that person. I was a person of a certain age, or a man of a certain age. I was late 30s, before I came out. And, after a while, people start putting the dots together to figure out, hey, what's going on with this guy? Why this man don't have no kids? Why he don't have no baby mama and all of that? And the main reason why I just wanted to bring us back to that clip is that that first episode, we talk about this. It's been mentioned. And then season 2, we actually talked about coming out, all 4 of us. And so it was interesting having that throwback from that episode, because I don't even think that was on our minds when we decided to do the coming out episodes. At least it wasn't on my mind. I don't know if it was on yours.
No, not at all.
Yeah. And so I say that because a lot of the things that we've done on this podcast so far, we've actually kind of thrown back to other things like the Friends, thing, and how that ended up kind of being like a theme of season 2 in a way, where we talked about multiple situations where things were dealing with friends, you looping in Anjali into some of the episodes as well, and your connection with her. So I thought it was just interesting how we had those tossbacks and throwbacks just to episode 1. And I don't even think that was something that was on anyone's mind at the time when we just sat down to, do this podcast as a group.
Yeah, I think that a lot of what we do has we tend to talk about some of the same things within our friend group. And so it was inevitable that we were going to circle back to some things. And it's interesting because we even set up in some of those earlier episodes, we set up some of what could have been our topics for future episodes in those episodes. So then that same episode, I remember towards the end, I think we were talking about how we were going to pick that conversation back up. Now, we never picked it back up, but we were talking about that. So I think maybe by the time we get to season 3, we should probably even go back and try to pick up some of that stuff that we even talked about in the pilot and in maybe episode 2.
Yeah, definitely. I do feel like going back to some of those things. There was a couple episodes where we had, and talking about the subject at the time, or just even the hot topic, that there were things that we were going to like, or that we alluded to, like, hey, we're going to come back to this later on, or we'll talk about this, or this could be a future episode. Right. And we've got some content that's just sitting on the floor, or potential content rather, because we haven't come to those or haven't returned back to those. So definitely episode 1 was pretty important in setting setting the stage up for us.
In setting it up for us, yeah.
Yep. We just got to work on those things.
Yeah, we got to actually pull the shit together so we can actually talk about it. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So I've got another clip, and this is coming from episode 2, Electric Boogaloo. So it's about the Red Dress Run, which was a very big deal coming out of the summer this year. So I'm going to just pull that clip up.
Go again this year. So
I know you're just chomping at the bit
I'm
to
chomping
be in
at
that
the
red
bit
dress.
to be in the red dress run and actually want to actually do something active in the red dress run, not just put on a dress and walk around and look at people. So, but we'll see if that ever happens. Race. I do.
Yeah.
I do.
All right, cool. So let's pull up the clip and then we'll come back. Just talk. So over the weekend, there was the Red Dress Run held in New Orleans. So this is a annual fundraiser that is held by the New Orleans Hash House Harriers. Proceeds go to different charities within the New Orleans area. And so this is a race or run, rather, not necessarily a race, but a run still, where people are encouraged to wear dresses. All people of all genders. And recently, at least I know from the last 3 years, it's really kind of picked up and taken off in the Black gay social media presence, where this has become an annual event. People take their dresses down there to the hot New Orleans humidity, put on their best red frocks, and participate in this race. And so it's caused a lot of discussion within this circle, where you see these, muscular guys, or not so muscular, just Black men in general, wearing dresses, running in this race. And some people are like, hey, do what you do, Black boy joy, and go out there, have fun in the heat. Other people is like, I don't understand this. I don't see the point. Why are they doing this? Some people feel like it's just for clout on social media. So it's definitely caused some division amongst Black gay social media. So I'm going to stop it there. Okay. So the interesting thing about this, just off the bat for me, is just to go back to episode 1. You can just tell the audio quality that I had, at least on my side, changed even from episode 1 to episode 2. But yeah, on this subject and topic, again, the Red Dress Run was another social media hit as far as a thing to do. If you've seen the photos or been around any type of Black social media this summer, after that dress run was held, there was a lot of controversy or a lot of talk and discussion about how many Black men were participating in the event. I won't say the race itself, but I will say the event. And I'm one of those people that let people enjoy things, type of deal. I did not go again, just like you, Darius. I wasn't there. But I do feel like there was a lot more people there this year than there was even the year before. Like, it was massive.
Yeah, it keeps growing. Yeah,
it keeps growing. And I think one of the controversies that was brought up again this year, but I heard a lot more vocal, was that, hey, these guys, they're not even participating in the race, and they just down there and this, that, and the other.
What? Who was that? What character was that?
Don't worry about all of that. These voices just come out when they come out.
Okay, because the voice and the attitude were there. I was like, whoa, who was that? Say his name.
He does not exist.
Okay,
but one of the big things that people were talking about was like they're not participating in the race and all of that, but what people have to also remember is that even if those guys were not participating in the race, they had economic impact to the city of New Orleans. Those guys had to get Airbnbs, they had to get Uber, they had to buy drinks, they had to eat, hotels, and all those things. So even if they didn't directly contribute to the Hash Harriers, the city still benefited from their presence, because what else was going on that weekend? So even if it has become an event that we've quote unquote taken over, that's okay. There'll be people that want to participate in the race. Like yours, like if I know that if you go, you're going to get up and go do the race, and
I'm gonna stretch. Yeah, I'm gonna have on some sneakers. We gonna roll. I mean, I might not run in that because it was hot as balls this year. So I probably would not have run for fear of spontaneously combusting and or passing out. But I would have definitely been like, okay, well, we're gonna run. We're gonna do this route.
You're
At
gonna
least
do the virtual run.
Yeah, something. We're gonna do some shit. Yeah, like I'm not just gonna put on this dress and stand around and look at people. But the one thing that I've always wondered about that event and the fact that it keeps growing and that we keep kind of showing up, and I mean we as the LGBT plus community, is I wonder, is this going to turn into another Freaknik sort of situation where we're going to take over this thing and it's going to completely lose the focus of what it actually was, and then it's going to end up ending because we've turned it into something else, which we as Black people, I'm not even going to say the community, but we as Black people have a tendency to do. So even if I think about like Freaknik, like I watched the Freaknik documentary and had no idea that it started as humbly as it did and turned into what it was. And I was like, yeah, I am completely with you all in disbanding this whole thing. And then I think about all of the Black gay prides like across the nation. It's as we talked about in another episode, Atlanta there's a gay pride in Atlanta weekly. And so when
daily.
And daily, or as Bobby Brown said, not every day, but every other day. So, it's something that we kind of need to wrangle a little bit and say, okay, look, if we're going to go down here and do this, like, let's at least go down here for the reason that it's supposed to be versus we just going to come down here and make our own sort of thing and take this whole thing over to the point that people won't even want to do it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it getting to a point where it's just out of control and off the rails. And, when things start to get as big as this has gotten and seems to be getting, there's always the potential that there'll be like little, what I want to say, some like offshoots and things like that. Like my understanding is that there's red dress runs held all over in different cities, or it could be, maybe not necessarily red. It could be a different dress, but in this case specifically, there were plenty of parties and side things that was happening. Because I think another reason why it kind of blew up last year and that kind of added into this year is because one of the big boy prides was actually, I know, specifically last year in 2022, 2023, they had promoted that they were going to be down there. So there was going to be that expectation that, the big guys was going to be down there and the chasers and all that stuff, because they just were planning around the run. That didn't happen this year for whatever reason. I know there's a little bit of controversy and drama in that. We're not getting into that on this podcast today, but
I don't even know if I heard that, but
yeah, it's a thing. We can talk about that offline. The little bit that I know, but yeah, because of that from 2023, that influx of people just because of that. And I think once people started saying, "Oh, those dudes down there having fun," 2024 comes around and people started, planning, or they started, "Oh, I'm gonna definitely do that next year in 2024," and that happened. It's just that there wasn't like a circuit party around it specifically for Big Boy Pride. Now there were deviant events that were down there this year, but then deviant, I think they had like their party. They did some HIV and STI testing down there as well. So, they kind of took advantage of the fact that there were going to be a lot of people down there for it. And I say all that to say that I could imagine next year that there'll be even more circuit things, or there'll be even more parties or other promoters that will try to take advantage of that influx of people. Like, oh, everybody's going out to New Orleans, we're gonna party, we're gonna drink, we're gonna go up and down Bourbon Street, all that good stuff. And then, like you said, the original issue could be that, oh, we're losing what this red dress run was about in the first place. Mm-hmm. But that's not to say, because we don't know what people's pockets are. We don't have access to these different charities, that these guys did not, hey, guys, we're going to send some money to the Hash Harriers. Mm-hmm. We're not going to run, but we are going to at least contribute this amount of money. It could be $1, it could be $10,000. We don't know, but we'll never have the ability to say that they weren't contributing to the actual charities. But I can see that it could get to a point where it's so out of control that it puts off people that would have participated in the race, feel like I'm uncomfortable with doing this because I'm not familiar with this group of people, or they're not even here for the race. They're just down here taking up space. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
making it hotter than it normally is.
Making it hotter than it normally is. Like I said last year, like if I'm in that race, you're gonna see me in like Adidas or Nike's best dry fit dress,
tennis skirt,
skirt. I'm gonna need something flowy, something that's got some air, maybe a little mesh. Now, there were some dresses that I was like, it was going from ball gown, ballroom, all the way to like fishnet, chicken wire, a mesh, and a thong that was like, this is for charity, bro.
Charity begins at home, is what they say.
Right. It's ass out and
it ain't tricking if you got it.
Right. And we got bulges and, barely there stuff on. Like it was a lot. Like, y'all doing a little bit too much. But I guess if y'all contribute the money, but they say all money ain't good money. But hey, look, who are we?
Exactly.
Who are we to judge? All right. Cool. All right. So moving on, I got another clip that I want to pull up. So give me just a moment to cue it, and we'll take a moment and listen to it. So this is going to come from our Kink It episode, which I still feel was very fun.
Yeah, it was all right.
It was all right, but I felt some freedom there. So let's pull up this little section from Kink It. Obviously, we've all hooked up with different people, and there was this one guy in particular that his kink was like, I guess, wrestling or fighting. I guess I won't say fighting specifically. I'll just say like wrestling. So he invited me over off of the grinder. We liked each other's bodies, this and other. And he was like, hey, I'm in, apartment ABC XYZ. The door is unlocked. First door on your left, another left. And, I'll be in there. I get there, this and other. And, he's ready to go.
In a wrestling singlet.
Yeah, he had a wrestling singlet on, and we started, kind of like tussling a little bit, but in a playful kind of way. And it got to the point where I was in my drawers, as that would have been my wrestling outfits. I didn't have a singlet, and eventually we ended up naked. Then he wanted me to wear his singlet. And I put it on. So I figured that part of his kink, in addition to the wrestling, was that, he wanted me to wear his clothes too. And he wanted a little bit of light restraint. And, like he wanted me to like tie him or like restrain him by like taking, either I didn't have like a rope or anything. So I can't remember exactly what it was. So I'll just say like maybe a t-shirt I had. And just kind of like wrap that around his arms and like behind his back like this, so that he couldn't like move or anything. So he was into that a lot. And I kind of discovered that I liked that. Like that was something that, I was like, oh, this is like restraint. It's kind of cool. I don't want to be completely restrained because there's no one that I trust right now to have me that vulnerable where, I'm okay with them really restraining me, with any type of rope or, handcuffed or me being attached to anything. I do not want that at all. That's just a bridge too far for me. And I'm not saying I would never get there, but there's a level of trust that I just don't have right now. All right. So stopping the clip there. Um, so update. So I have two singlets now. Yeah. So obviously, we're not obviously, but I did, go to Amazon and bookmark some things. And Amazon is so great because they'll tell you like when something goes on sale. So I got some alerts that some things had gone on sale that I bookmarked. Um, Went ahead, found my size, ordered them, tried them on. I was like, all right, this is cool. Only had them on for like maybe a minute or so just to make sure they fit or anything. But I'm prepped. I'm ready. So when the day comes, I'll have my little wrestling outfits ready to go.
Are you prepping for that specific person again?
Oh no, I have no contact with that person. I don't know if I don't think I talked about this. I know we talked about this a long time ago, so you've probably forgotten.
Of
But
course, because that's what I
shortly
do.
after that encounter, the guy actually blocked me. Like he vanished off of Grinder. So I mean, it is
Did
what it
he
is.
block you,
Happens all
or
the time.
did he just like leave Grinder?
I think he blocked me.
Okay.
Because like I couldn't, our messages were gone, this and the other, and I wasn't like, no sweat off my back. I mean, at the time I was single. I wasn't expecting it to be anything more than what it was at that time. I mean, I definitely would have, you know, gone for a round two, quote unquote, in that situation. Just to maybe explore that a little bit further at the time. But him blocking me, this and another, was no sweat off my back, and I don't think it was anything to do with me, or I don't feel like it was anything to do with me personally. And it doesn't matter if it was or it wasn't. But yeah, it's not. I'm not prepping for him specifically. I just would rather be, as to quote Edna Mode from one of my favorite Pixar movies, The Incredibles. Luck favors the prepared. So I'm prepared. I just need a little bit of luck.
Okay. Did I was going to ask a question about the idea of blocking. Did you ask him, or did you say anything to him after that session about, oh, I enjoyed myself. Would you like to do this
Yeah,
again? Did you say anything like that?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, that really wasn't the focus, I guess, for me. It's very possible that we did. I'm pretty sure I conveyed that I enjoyed it,
Okay. And he
in
said
some
he did too?
capacity. I imagine that he did. So I guess getting blocked was just kind of like weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's neither here nor there again for me.
But he didn't
But
say that he enjoyed it. Or do
I
you not
don't think that he
remember?
didn't. Like I think if he would have told me that he didn't enjoy it, I would have remembered that. Now he
Okay.
could have just said that to save or spare my feelings, which is
Mm-hmm.
fine.
Right.
Wouldn't have been the first time that I feel like someone said that to me, and I definitely have been on that side of the fence myself. So it's whatever. But I do feel like I conveyed that I enjoyed it and would have wanted to do it again. But you know, could have
Yeah, yeah.
been a whole dissertation of reasons why people do what they do. Uh, I know that Black culture is a big deal. Um, I'd rather have a conversation at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, as at my big age with my big boy draws on. Um,
And the
Say,
wrestling
hey, I'm
singlet
not.
too.
Yeah,
And your
you
wrestling
know,
singlet, yeah.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That hey, I'm good. I don't want to do this with you anymore, or I don't want to hang out or anything like that. I'm more capable of expressing myself,
Mm-hmm.
um, like that. Versus when that happened when I was younger. So this probably would have been like 8 years ago now, maybe 7. Um, Yeah. So it would have been, I probably wouldn't have expressed myself as well then myself. Now I have the words and capacity and done some of the work to be able to say, hey, I'm good. I don't have to block you, but I can tell you that, hey, I don't want to do this again with you. I don't want to do anything else with you. I feel like even though it was just a hookup and wasn't trying to be like a date thing, I think there's just, I don't want to contribute to the toxic waste of the dating pool by treating people certain ways. And I think that's why we're very stagnant in the dating pool now, because people treat folks so disposable. Everything's so temporary. And even if, it was just a hookup and one and done, that's fine. But you don't have to like treat people a certain way where at least you can have that closure. And I know
everything is very transactional. It's that, and it's once we've established that we've done this transaction, then that's it. Like, I don't need to say anything else to you. I don't owe you anything else.
Right.
And you don't,
and I'm protecting my peace. I'm protecting my peace.
Yeah. And there's character too. And so, it's this idea of, I don't owe you anything. And like I said, you don't owe anybody anything, but like, as humans, I would think that there's a level of humanity that you would want to offer somebody, even if it is I'm not interested anymore, or that was a one and done kind of thing. That's fine.
Yeah. And I get it. On the other end of that is you'll have people that are try to, debate why you should still communicate with them. And that can get annoying. I get that. Now, if we get to that point and I'm telling you, hey, bro, I'm good. I don't want to do this again. And you're trying to be the convincing John to get me to, come up with reason to justify why I shouldn't do this and why we should keep going. And I tell you, no, I'm good. And you still trying to do that, then yeah, that's annoying. At that point, then yeah, let's block. But if we're at least going to have the conversation and be like, hey, cool, bygones, bygones, we go our separate ways. That's how you don't end up in those situations where you're at the club, you're at the kickback, and the guy walks in and there's this awkwardness to it because that y'all didn't have the best ending. There wasn't the best closure. Now you're in the situation, you didn't know the guy was going to be there, and now there's this, or you can see them whispering to their friend, or you're whispering to your friend, and there's just this odd energy. People can pick up on that.
That's never an awkward kind of situation to me, because if it happens like that where I'm on the receiving end of the block, they don't exist. Like you said earlier, they don't exist. And so I don't even look in their direction. I don't pay attention to them. I act as if I never even saw them. And honestly, what's interesting is that bothers people even more when they know that you have had a situation and you're not even acknowledging their presence. Like, you're not looking at them, you're not paying attention to them, you're having a great time with whomever else you're out with, or even if you're by yourself. That's where I protect my peace. I don't worry about having to have a conversation with you. If you weren't man enough to say something to me about that situation, then I don't need to acknowledge your existence at all.
Yeah, and that's a good way of handling that. I also can kind of like, you have been deleted and you don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But, for some of the listeners that don't have that capacity and they're kind of like, they get a little bit nervous, or, it could be even that their friend, like, hey, ain't that the dude you hooked up with in 2017? And you'd be like, yeah.
And that, but you've been with me when situations like that have happened, and I've kind of whispered to you like, hey, remember when I told you about so and so and so and so? That's the guy over there, and then that's it. And then I continue to focus on whatever we're doing. And that one time that I think that was, like, there was something that was wrong with your leg and you set me up. on this one, because there was somebody we were at Einstein's in Atlanta, and I had mentioned to you that there was somebody that I had talked to at one point, and we were walking out of Einstein's, and he was hanging out like right around the front of Einstein's, and I walked out, and I was like, I'm just gonna walk right by. I'm not going to say anything. I'm not gonna whatever. And you were behind me, and I think you purposely were like walking slow. Something was going on with your leg, but you were walking slow on purpose so that I would like have to slow up so that I wouldn't leave you. And the dude actually said something to me. He actually kind of tapped me on my shoulder and spoke to me. So I ended up having to have a conversation with him. But not that I had a problem with him, or have a problem with him now, because he's married and, all of that stuff. But that was a thing that I was trying to do. And I was like, oh, Jeff tried to set me up on that one time. I'm gonna just walk a little slower. I'm not gonna. I ain't gonna let him get away with this one. So
that was totally not intentional. That just probably would have been, just one of those. Like, it could have been whatever reason my leg was hurting that day. But yeah, I wouldn't have put you in that situation on purpose. It just was happenstance, circumstance. That's all.
Okay.
All right. So let's move forward. But I do appreciate it. I think that was a good conversation for us to talk about ghosting, and that may also be something
we need to, when we start talking about, we have an upcoming episode where we're going to be talking about being single and stuff like that. That I think we could probably revisit that idea of ghosting and that idea of blocking is one of the thorns in the flesh of the dating world now. So I think we can definitely talk about that.
Very, very much so. The vein of the dating existence, so to speak. All right, so I've got another clip. This one is actually coming from your solo episode that I did want to talk about for a little bit. So just a little throwback of you.
That's right.
Give me a second. Let's cue this up.
In our society, we should not look at university studies as the next natural progression, which is what I see a lot in college or on the collegiate level. College is not simply grade 13, which a lot of students seem to feel like that. When you are at what we call the academy, and the we in that are all of your professors and people who work on the collegiate level. So when you're at the academy, that comes with a different mindset. It comes with different routines. It comes with heightened responsibility and clear and intentional challenges to how we have seen the world to that point. So the ways in which you grew up are going to be questioned. The things that you thought you believed all of your life are going to be put into question. The fact that you've been around the same type of people who are in your family for umpteen years, 18, 19, 17, 18, 19 years, that's going to be different because you're going to meet people who didn't grow up the same way you did and may have other views and beliefs. But some students just simply aren't ready for that.
All right, so I'm going to stop it right there. So on my notes, I wanted to talk about grade 13 and going into college and how, for me and my experience, I kind of went in thinking grade 13 myself. I used the same practices that I used to study in high school and college. And part of that kind of goes to being gifted. And when you are gifted, they put you in those classes and, you have to think about certain things. You're separated from the other kids, you feel like, at least in my case, that I didn't really have to study. Like I would wait, lots of papers that I wrote did not get written. I had weeks to do them and was doing them in like a week or less, not starting on it until the weekend before it was due or something like that. Not really studying, but I would always, make good grades. Now I wasn't a straight A student. I was an A and B student. I had a 3.5 plus GPA. But studying like that in college does not work, or at least it did not work for me. That I had to go through and actually, it took me taking those steps and getting my GPA down to an abysmal level, not quite academic probation yet, but I lost my scholarship and all that good stuff. So I had to work, harder, to kind of overcome that. I had to petition some different classes because I had to change the way that I was studying and learn material so that I could ease out or squeak out of college, by the skin of my teeth. And so, that was definitely a thing that I don't think people are instilled. For me, going to college was not going to be, not going to college was not an option. Like for me, I knew I wanted to get out of the house. And even if you go back to my Summer of Discontent episode, I knew that I wasn't going to be there forever. Those people weren't going to be my friends in high school. I was trying to just get through it and make it through. So for me, that was always going to be the goal, was going to college. I just wasn't prepared on how to navigate that different type of studying, the different type of responsibility, because, you weren't going to get that hand holding. Yeah, you had a counselor and this, that, and the other, but it wasn't like your high school counselor that was going to be like, hey, Jeff, you got to do this, that, and the other. You do this, you do that, and you do that. You really had to do that on your own and be independent. And the other part about that I liked was when you were talking about, talking with people that had different views and different beliefs. And because I went to a HBCU, did not go to a PWI, that was my first time seeing different Black people. I came into undergrad as a geeky nerd guy, but I didn't see that until I got there. I didn't see other geeky nerd Black dudes. I didn't see the extremely studious types of guys and girls that weren't necessarily nerds. They were just straight A's, whatever school that they went to, be they from LA, be they from Tulsa, Alabama, be they from, New York, New Jersey, or whatever, and hearing those different accents, different types of ways that people navigate life, experience life, thought about different things, enjoy different things, different music, movies, TV, and all that stuff. I didn't get that experience until I got to undergrad, and, was really eye-opening to kind of see that for the first time, being someone that was from a very small town in a county that had, just over 50,000 people, going to a high school that just had barely over 1,000 people in it, so it was just really an expansion of the universe for me to a degree. And it kind of carries over even moving here to Atlanta, where the type of dudes that I normally date and gel with, though, tend to be from the South. Like, I've met dudes from the North, I've met dudes from the West Coast, but I've never been able to experience any type of long-term beyond just maybe a hookup or a couple of dates type of thing with them. It's always been, the guys that are from the South that I end up being in a relationship with. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of throw back or pull some of that out from your words there, because that really did kind of align with me.
Yeah. It aligns with a lot of people, and grade 13 really is a thing. It is something that could attribute to a lot of the retention rates among freshmen in collegiate environments, because they're not prepared, which is a lot of what I was saying in that episode, was that they're just not really prepared. They're not ready for the rigors. Your freshman year really functions as your acclimation year. It functions as, all right, you are now in college. And so there's some things that we're going to do to ease you into what you're going to have to do in your actual major. So your freshman year is your year to kind of make a few mistakes and to make a few missteps, but you don't want to set yourself up for failure in that first year, because then it's going to be doubly hard to get yourself out. It's easy to fail a course, but it's very hard to get yourself or to dig yourself out of that hole. When people's GPAs go down, you literally have to retake all of that stuff in order for it to not show up on your transcript. And a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of students don't understand that. And they don't understand that, okay, I got all F's and a B last semester, but then this semester I'm going to get all A's in these classes, and then that's going to bring my GPA back up. No, it's going to try to balance it out a little bit depending on your number of hours and all of these extra factors. So they just don't understand that, and then they end up being on academic probation, academic suspension, all of that. And schools now try to be a little more compassionate towards students. They're still using the COVID, sort of excuse as to why things are the way they are, and students are still using that. I teach an online class now, and there are students who literally don't understand that this is class. Like, between this time and this time, this is class, and they're walking around. I can see them talking to friends, and they're laying in the bed, falling asleep. And I'm like, you really should be taking notes on some of this stuff, because when this assignment comes up that you're going to have to do, you're going to be looking at me cross-eyed because you don't know where to go. And I'm going to score you as harshly as I can on that, because I've given you everything that you need in order to be successful. So it's a real thing. And I just hope that people will, if we have listeners out there who have children, or you have listeners out there who are contemplating college, even if you're not of college age or traditional college age, like, that you'll think about that and think about those things, so that when you get there, you won't have as many hardships,
Yeah, it's definitely going to take a different type of thinking, getting out of, some of those tricks and things that you did in high school just aren't going to fly, especially depending on your major and, how you go into things. And then, also, too, the social life of school, of undergrad, is completely different from what you would have experienced, going to high school and going back home to your house every day versus being on campus and having all the temptations of whatever is going to be near your school.
And one of the things that keeps ringing in my head, you and I had this conversation a while ago, and I remember you telling me that when you were at your HBCU, that you like rarely went to any like sporting events, you rarely went to any of that stuff. And I could not understand that. Like, I was popular, like, in college. Like, people knew who I was. Like, they didn't, it wasn't like I was, everybody's friend and everybody wanted to be me kind of thing, but they were familiar with who I was. If someone said, oh, Darius Curitan, like, they may not know my name, but they're like, oh, that's the guy that does, that's in the band, or the guy that's this, or he, whatever. Like somebody would, and our school was small enough that you kind of knew of people. So that always blew my mind, that it was like, you didn't really go to any of those things. You didn't really like engage in any of that collegiate sort of environment or that atmosphere.
Yeah. I mean, because I knew I was going to go to my school so early on, there wasn't any doubt. And I had already gone to football games and, all that stuff. So going almost every year, at least to one game, growing up, once I got there, I just didn't feel like all that pressed about it, and I'm sure that there's, people that would have reveled like, oh, now I'm a student, I can get this, and now I can't wait to actually be a student of the school and be in the stadium and, rah, 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 sis, boom, bah. It just wasn't there for me. Like, I just, I just wanted to spend my Saturday nights playing video games or, just chilling by myself. I was good on it.
All of those games. I was like, especially if it was something that was on campus, man. Yeah, I was there. But I marched in the band though too, so I had to be at everything. But even the games that I didn't necessarily have to play at, or the games that that, well, I was in pep band too. So I was like, the games that maybe I didn't play it, I was still there. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to come to this. And even when I worked there, like I wouldn't go to every game, but I would definitely be at, some of the home games and stuff like that. But
yeah, and it's part of that too is my personality, because I'm naturally introverted, and now I know how to be extroverted when I need to be. But I'm not naturally an extroverted person. I'm more introverted anyway, and so I could take it or leave it. Not being in a fraternity, not being in a band, not being on the SGA, you don't have to do those things. It just felt like more of a hassle, because at my school, our stadium is not on campus. You have to commute to the stadium, and then you have to commute back. So it wasn't like, oh, let me just walk over here to the stadium. Now, if that was a thing, probably would have been a little bit different, because everybody's at the game, guess I'll go. But if I got to get on the bus, get on the commuter bus or the shuttle, I'm be like, no, I'm good. And then even parking would have been an issue. So, yeah, and it just was not a thing for me, just doing all that. But, I kind of feel like clearly I was getting into enough trouble from the past, 7 minutes ago, that if I was at the games, that probably would have just made things worse. So it's probably best for me that I did not. I found my own debauchery, or not even necessarily debauchery, just things to take up my time that I should have been studying when I wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
But yeah, so that wraps up my little bit on our throwbacks and flashbacks and director's cut. So we're going to just end that for me, but I know you've got some clips. So if you're ready to share, we can pull some of those up and continue marching.
Okay. You want to take a little small break right here?
Sure. Let's take a break, and then we'll get a snack and be right back.
Yep.
Hold up, wait a minute. We're going to stop it here right now, but check back and we'll have Darius's flashback next time. But first, here's a preview.
I'll share this with the viewers. You and I have actually fallen out behind me wanting to love on you the same way that you loved on me. So that he's absolutely correct in that. And it was, I mean, like literally it was a Real Housewives moment where it was like, you know what? All right, bet. I'm out then. Like, here's what it is. You do what you want to do with it. I'm out. And we were at a restaurant and I got up and left. And but the next day we actually we reconciled. Like we went to brunch. We kept all of our same plans, everything that we were gonna do, and we
ain't nothing changed, boo boo.
Yeah, right. Yeah, ain't nothing. Yeah, nothing changed. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Now be sure to like, share, and follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and Spotify at Just Draws. That's JUSTDRAWZ. Until next time,